morning, students. So, we were discussing collections in the last week, and we have covered few of the collections. That is a list, which is an interface. We have discussed about list subclasses. Array list we have seen. Vector, linked list we have covered, and even we have also discussed about hash table. And I said remaining few of the collection classes we will cover in today's session. So we will focus on the remaining collection classes, like here what you can see: tree set, hash set, and use of comparable interface also we will just look at. And then we will also see hash map and tree map. Very quickly we will see about properties class also. And today we are going to put full stop to these collections, and if time permits I will even introduce you to the multi-threading concepts. So first of all, what is a set? So a set is an interface which is quite opposite to the list interface, where list maintains the insertion order and duplicates are also allowed, and list also has one of the legacy class, that is vector. But coming to set, set has no legacy classes and it's an unordered collection, so the order is not preserved. That means whatever the order you insert, it will not be maintained, and no duplicates are allowed. That means if you try to add a duplicate, then only one of the copy will be maintained. By default, when you add elements, it's going to return boolean value. So for every unique element addition to the set, it returns true. For a duplicate element being added, then obviously it will return false. So it's not going to raise any error if you try to add some duplicate elements, but still it won't be added, and when you retrieve the elements, you can see only single copy of the element being returned, even though you have added it twice or thrice or n number of times. So this is what you just need to remember regarding sets. And another thing is, list will permit you to add null values, whereas set will allow only one null value to be inserted. That means you are permitted to add null value, but only one, not more than one. So you can add single null value, not more than that. So these are the key points need to be remembered. So I just repeat: set is an interface which has no legacy classes. Like vector in list, we don't have any legacy classes in set, and no order is preserved. So you can get elements returned in any order, and no duplicates are allowed, but no error will be returned even though you try to add duplicate element, and one single null value is allowed. These are the key points you need to remember regarding sets. And coming to the implementations of sets, we have tree set, hash set, linked hash set. These are the three major implementations of set interface, because as I said, set is an interface which you cannot directly create class for. So that's the reason we have implementations like tree set, hash set, and linked hash set. So comparable interface is one thing which we will be using mostly along with the tree set. It is having one single method. Comparable interface has only one single method, that is public int compare to, and it takes one argument, that is object argument. As the name itself makes you understand, compare to, the method name itself makes you understand. So it is used to compare the current object with the previous object, because the argument what we are going to pass is object, and the method how do we invoke is with the object. So with whatever the object we are invoking this compare to method, which is the method of comparable interface, that method becomes the current object, and whatever the argument that you are going to pass to this compare to method, that becomes the previous object. So that is how the compare to method of comparable interface is used to compare the current object with the previous object. So comparable interface, as I said, mostly we will be using with the tree set. I'll just demonstrate with a small program also now how we are going to use this comparable interface along with tree set. So let's understand the theoretical concept first, and let's get into the implementation part. So coming to tree set, as I already said, it's one of the implementation of the set interface. So when we say it is inherited from set interface, obviously whatever the things we have discussed just now with regard to set, it also will be applicable for tree set. So no duplicates are allowed and no null elements are permitted. It will be iterating in sorted order. So tree set we use for sorted order, and by default it will be in ascending order. So this is what you just need to remember, because with regard to set I said it's an unordered collection, no order is preserved, but coming to tree set it will be iterating in sorted order, and by default the order is ascending order, and all the methods of tree set are non-synchronized methods, and it is backed up by the tree map interface. It is backed up by the tree map interface. So these are the points you just need to remember with regard to tree set. Now let us understand it with a example program, and also see how comparable interface can be included along with the tree set, and how we can make the comparison. So let's just understand it. So here is my Eclipse IDE. Let me use the magnifier. So let's create a class, and let me name it as tree set demo. And then here what we do is, okay, first let me create a class student, and here I am using the comparable interface. Okay, it's just saying compare to method has to be implemented. Okay, we will be anyway implementing it, and here I'm just taking two fields. One is a roll number and marks field. These are the only two instance variables I am using. And let me use the class constructor in order to define my own roll number and marks while the object of student is being created. So I'm just assigning the instance variables with the roll number and marks that will be passed at the time of object creation. And then, as I said, since I'm implementing this comparable interface, I have to override one method which I have said compare to method. So here you can see add unimplemented methods. You can just click on this. Automatically you will get to see like this annotation @override method. So I can see one question being asked, why set is unordered? So I already mentioned the collection hierarchy is designed in such a way that it has three major implementations. We have seen it in the previous sessions also: list, set, and map. So for key value pair of elements kind of thing, you will be going for map, and for allowing for duplicates and maintaining insertion order, you will be going for list, and for non-duplicates and unordered fashion of storage, you will be going for the set generally. And that is the reason I said, if you want set also to maintain this order, then you will be using like this tree set or linked tree set, like this you sorry, linked hash set. Like this you have other implementations also that gives freehand for the developer. According to his application requirement he can do. But the major thing is you need to understand here is set is used for restricting duplicates. That's the major point to be remembered, because in list you can have duplicates also, but in order to restrict duplicates you will be going for sets. And as I said, by nature it's not going to maintain the order, but in case if you want order, as I said, you can go for the tree set. And then if you want your own comparisons to be made, then you can use this comparable interface through which you will be overriding the compare to method, or else you can go for the linked hash set. And by default you can understand hash set will not be maintaining order, because the name itself makes you understand. Hash set will be based on hashing. Hashing concept means, I think you might have studied with your data structure subject as well. So the storage indexes is based on the hash value returned. That's the reason hash set also will not maintain any order. But the greatest advantage you will be having with hash set is search operations will be very faster. It's the best for search operations, because the storage organization is purely based on hashing concept. That's the reason it's best for retrieval operations. But again, as I said, no order is preserved even with hash set. So if you want to have the insertion order preserved, then you will go for linked hash set. That's the thing you just need to remember, because with the tree set, not the insertion order, you are going to maintain ascending order or descending order kind of thing. I hope you got the answer, Anirudh. If further queries, you can just ask me. But the point to be remembered, as I said, is list for duplicates purpose you will be going, set for restricting duplicates you will be using, map for having key value pair mechanisms you will be going for it. And as I said, Again in set, if you want insertion order, you will be going for linked hash set. If you want ascending order, you will be going for tree set. If order is not preserved, order is not important for you, it's only the faster retrieval or search operations important, then you can go for hash set. So depending on your application requirement, you can go for that. That's the only thing you just need to understand. Okay, anyway, let's get into it. So if any other further queries, you can just post it in the comment section. So as I said, here I'm implementing this comparable interface, and this comparable interface is part of the lang package itself. That's the reason, even though I have written this implements comparable, it did not ask me to import anything. And this comparable interface having one single method, that is compare to method. As I said, here you can see object. So by default, these comparable things will be passed by this. That's why it's coming with that. And let me return this. And here what I'll be doing is, in this I'll just create object, and yeah, add cast to student compulsory, because by default it is the generalized nature and this student is specific nature. So when you are trying to assign the generalized nature to the specific nature, it will ask you to perform the casting. But if you are doing the reverse, you don't require any casting. I hope you are getting the point. If you are performing the reverse, that is, if student object is being stored into the object, you don't require any casting. But when you are trying to assign object type itself to student, then you require casting, because the specific type, when you are assigning to the generalized type, no need of casting. But when the generalized type itself being assigned to the specific type, explicit casting is compulsory required, and that's what the quick fix is showing. Just select that, so casting automatically will be made. And then I'm just using my comparison condition, whatever the purpose I am writing this compare to method. So if my marks are equal to the student marks, then I am going to return 0. Else, if this marks is greater than the student marks, then I am going to return 1. Else, I will return -1. So this is the condition I am just imposing on my student class compared to method. So that's it. We are done with this student class. Now let's get back to this tree set demo. And here we require main method in order to create object for student. So here is the main method, and in this, now what are we supposed to do is, we are supposed to create object for this tree set. So it's up to you whether you are going to use the generic version or non-generic version. Right now I'm just going for non-generic version. And obviously tree set is okay. You need to import it from util package. So now what we do is, we just add 2 to 3 objects, and to this I need to add the student object. Rather than creating separately objects, wasting my stack memory, I'm directly creating the objects. I'm just creating one student object. I hope you are understanding why I'm directly adding the new student argument within the add method itself, because again I have to write a separate line and paste some reference variable. Instead of that, directly I'm storing there. And let's add two more records. So I'm supposed to add roll number and marks now, so I'm just doing that. And here also what I'll do is 2, and then here some, let's change the marks to 99, and here some roll number 3, and let's change this marks to 88. And then let's use the iterator. As we know that enumerations, I can't use it because enumerator can be used only on the legacy classes. And I already said in the beginning of the class itself, set doesn't have any legacy classes, so no way I can use enumeration with this set classes. So just invoke this iterator, and obviously you need to import this. Import iterator from util. Carefully observe, when you are clicking directly, don't click without reading. Whatever the quick fixes it is giving, observe from which package you wanted to import and select that. And you already have seen in the previous session also how to use iterator. So simply while I dot has next, here you can see while I dot has next, and then here what I have to do, I have to retrieve the marks and thing. So what I'll be doing is I'll just student s equal to I dot next, and then why am I not able to create for student? Both are in same package, so default should work fine. What if I do cast? Okay, one thing we'll do, just try to declare it as local. Okay, then it's working fine. So rather than creating directly within that while block, just declare it above. And let's print this record. And here what are we supposed to print? Roll number. So you automatically get to see that, plus, and then some separator for the roll number and marks, and then so let's see how it will work. What happened? Okay, just initialize it to null. Just use the quick fixes, whatever it gives, and let's run this and see how it runs. Okay, no such method error. Init v, line number 10, t dot add of new student of int r int m. Okay, student is already defined, so let's rename this. I hope you are able to see. Student is already defined in some other previous of our programs, I think. Let me just change everything to student 1. And here also I'll be using student 1. We need to see all these things. So names which are existing cannot be used. I think even you know that. You cannot use any of the existing names. Okay, here also I need to use the same. Wherever student is there, I'm just renaming it with the student 1 because student class is already existing, it seems. So in previous sessions, in some of the explanation, I have already used student, I think. Okay, it's displaying only 1. Oh, I think you can understand because for while I haven't used braces. Here I'm supposed to use braces for while, so which I have ignored that because I have to iterate it. Yeah, now you can see what is being displayed. So you can see it's being displayed with respect to the marks in ascending order because that's what the compared to condition we have written. So here in the compared to condition, that's what we have returned. Accordingly, what it have done is it have returned the records in such a way that marks are in ascending order. So this is how you will be using the tree set. I hope everyone understood this tree set usage. So tree set, which is one of the implementation of set interface, will not permit you to create duplicates, and you will be using comparable interface in order to have comparison of one object with the previous object, and then you can have the sorting happening with respect to the condition which you require. Here we have sorted with respect to the marks. That's the reason you can see the output. Roll number 1 75 marks, roll number 3 88 marks, roll number 2 99 marks. So this is how it have sorted with respect to the marks. Now if you want to see, you can just see if I go for duplicate creation. Suppose if I go for here, anyway this will be treated like the same thing. Let's run this. So here you can see it's being run for only one time. Suppose if I just override the marks with 100. So you can see here it's a record. If you consider for individual elements, then you can get to see. If you consider individual elements, you can get to see the difference. Right now it's a record, and I hope you have observed the difference. When I have the same record with the same marks, then it did not given me twice, but now here the marks are different, and this is not like key value pairs. It's not like a key value pairs, it's like a record. So I hope you are understanding the difference. If you want, again you can see by adding this same record, it doesn't make any difference. It's not like key value pairs. We will see with for key value pairs thing also now. So you can see 3 and 88 not printed twice, even though we have inserted twice. So that's the difference here. Record, it's not a single element. That's the reason you can see this particular thing being repeated, but this is not being repeated. So this is what with regard to the tree set you just need to remember. And Let us quickly see one small piece of code with regard to hash set. Very quickly we will see one small demo with hash set. So again, I need not tell, hash set is another implementation of set interface. So no duplicates are allowed, and here the elements are not sorted and not ordered. Here the elements are not sorted and not ordered, and it uses hashing mechanism. It uses hashing mechanism, and the methods are non-synchronized. And by default, when you don't specify any size for the hash, the initial capacity will be 16. The initial capacity of this hash set will be 16. That means it can store 16 elements. And by we all know that collections are by nature dynamic, but initial capacity is 16. Just like for vector, I have said you know initial capacity 10. Similarly, for hash set, initial capacity 16. And here also you can create hash set without any argument. You can specify capacity as argument, or you can also specify the collection itself as argument. That means existing list or vector, whatever the thing, you can also add it to the hash set. That is also possible. And one thing just need to be remembered is whatever the result you will be getting. I mean, when you try to retrieve the elements from the hash set, the output is unpredictable because, as I said, it's unordered and unsorted. The output is unpredictable. It might be returning in any order. It purely depends on the hash function, and that hash function also not used by us. By default, it will be using, and here let me use this hash set string h equal to new hash set. So import it, and we can also retrieve from, okay, this hash table. Let's try this because I have tried with the list, but I haven't seen with the stack. Let's see whether that can also be added directly. And now what I'll be doing is here, okay, let me just cut this, and let's try to pass this. Okay, it's coming there. Now let us use iterator. I'll just tell you what I have done. I hope you are able to understand what I am doing here. So what I have done is I have just created, I mean, whatever the previous session we have created stack, that same stack I have used here. And to this hash set, I am passing the stack object directly. And while I dot hash next, let's try to just display this. Here what we'll do is we'll just display this I dot next. Okay, let's run this and see how it will come. Yeah, here you can see this is how you can even pass another collection to any other collection also. Right now what I have just shown you is for hash set. The same way, even while you are creating tree set also, you can even pass the list itself there. You can even pass some other array list or some other collection also there. So here you can see the insertion order. What we have done is Krishna, Lava and Kumar, but the output how it have returned is Krishna, Kumar and Lava. So the order is not preserved here, it's unordered. This is what the point I was telling you, unordered and unsorted. Right now you might be seeing this in sorted order, but remember the fact that right now here we have inserted only few elements, but when you will be having more number of elements, then you will be getting see all that. So this is how you will be creating hash set. And even you can go for linked hash set. So if I use linked hash set, then I have to import linked one. And so here you can see the order is preserved. I hope you are able to find the difference. Here whatever the order I have inserted, that order you are able to see it. So that's the difference between linked hash set. So the name itself makes you understand linked hash set is a kind of combination of a hash table and linked list. But even though it's implementation of set interface which inherits the hash set class, but it's something like a combination of hash table and linked list. So this is the point you just need to remember. So hash set will not maintain the order, whereas linked hash set will maintain the insertion order. That's the point just need to be remembered. It's a implemented from set and inherits this hash set class. So whatever the hash set methods are there, those methods you can even apply it with linked hash set. So these are the things you just need to remember with regard to the hash set and linked hash set. So with this I am putting full stop with set, because as I said, set itself is an interface for which directly you can't create object. So we can use the implementations of set, which are tree set, hash set and linked hash set. So I have shown you how to use comparable interface with the tree set, and similarly this hash set and linked hash set also I have shown you. So hash set for faster retrieval and search operations, the best used data structure, whereas linked hash set, which is subclass of hash set, can be used for preserving the insertion order. So this is what you just need to remember with regard to the sets. Now let's go for maps. So what is a map? In the very first class of collection, I have said you collection have three children, that is list, set and map. So list we understood for having duplicates and order preserved, set for non-duplicates and no order we go for sets, and maps we will be going for key value pairing, for key value pair storage purpose. So map is also an interface. By default, the immediate subclasses of collection are interfaces. Collection itself is an interface, and the immediate subclasses of collection are interfaces, like list is interface, set is interface. Similarly map is also an interface, and map will be storing elements in key value pairs, and this key value pair together we call it as entry. This key value pair together itself we call it as entry. And even though I haven't discussed, but in last session we have seen this map dot entry. That's what that entry is meant for. So entry is nothing but key value pair. Entry itself is nothing but key value pair. That's what you just need to remember regarding entry. So what is entry means? It's a key value pair. the key value pair in map is referred as entry. And another thing what you need to remember with regard to map is all keys are unique. All keys are unique, whereas values can be duplicate. So the point is no key can be duplicate, whereas values can be duplicate. So this is very important point need to be remembered. And what you will be retrieving is you are going to retrieve values using the keys. You are going to retrieve values using the keys. And another question is how many values you can associate with a single key. This is a simple question only, but still another interesting question is how many values can be associated with a single key. So one key, one value. This is what the point need to be remembered. One key, one value. And the basic operations that you can perform over maps are two of them you have already seen with hash table. Put in order to insert the key value pair. Get in order to get the value of a key. So directly by using get method, you have to pass one argument, that is the key argument, and what it will return? Value. So put method return type is void, and what you will be passing to this put means two arguments will be passed. One is the key argument, the other one is the value argument. And as I said, keys must be unique, whereas values can be repeated. Similarly, get method will be having one single argument, that is key argument, and what it will return is the value. Here I am using the entry interface methods. This get key and get value are the methods of entry. These are the methods of entry. Understand that. That's what we are using here. Map.entry, like this we have used now. That's what this. So here what you are using is the methods of entry. And yeah, another methods that you have to remember with regard to this map interface is remove, for which you are going to pass the key, and when you pass key to the remove method, by default the associated value also gets deleted. Similarly, size method, I think I need not tell that. By the name itself you can understand, size method will return the number of entries in the map. I repeat, size method returns the number of entries in the map. As I already said, entry itself refers to key value pair. So as per the map data structure terminology, an entry refers to key value pair. So these are the four majorly used methods as part of map. Put in order to insert the entry, get in order to get the value associated to a key, remove key. By default entire entry will be removed from the map, and size returns the number of entries made in the map. So unique keys, duplicate values, one key, one value. So this is what you just need to remember with regard to map. And we have two map interfaces. One is map and sorted map. There are two map interfaces. One is map, the other one is sorted map. And why there are two interfaces means, as the name itself makes you understand, sorted map is for sorted order. Sorted map is for sorted order. And tree map is the implementation of sorted map, because sorted map itself is interface for which you cannot create direct object and cannot use it. For that reason, tree map is the implementation of sorted map, to which objects can be created and you can retrieve the entries. And by default, tree map, you will be getting the values returned in ascending order. By default, tree map returns the entries in ascending order. And on what basis it returns in ascending order means on key basis, not the value basis. On key basis, the entries are returned in ascending order. So this is the tree map, which is the implementation of sorted map interface that returns entries in ascending order based on the keys. And coming to the implementation of map interface, we have hash map interface. Sorry, hash map class. Hash map is a class that is the implementation of map interface, which will not maintain any insertion order. Hash map is implementation of map interface which will not maintain any insertion order. Then what if I want to maintain insertion order? Then you have another subclass to hash map, that is linked hash map. So hash map by nature will not have any insertion order, but it's faster because the use of hashing concept. But what if you want to maintain the insertion order? Then you have to go for the subclass of hash map, which is the linked hash map. So the linked hash map, which is the subclass of hash map and which also implements the map interface, will maintain the insertion order. I repeat, map and sorted map are the interfaces. Tree map, which is the subclass of sorted map, will return in ascending order based on the keys, whereas hash map is the subclass of map interface which will not maintain any insertion order. And in case if you are interested to have the insertion order also to be maintained, then instead of going for hash map, you must go for linked hash map, which is the subclass of hash map that also implements the map interface. Thereby you can use all the methods of map interface as well as the hash map class. So this is what you just need to remember. And as I said, this is how you will be using the entry interface. So this map entry is something like you can treat it like a sub interface to map. This is also interface only, but you can just treat it like sub interface of map. That's the reason you are using it along with the map. That's why you are using it along with the map. So it's a something like sub interface which returns the entries, which is nothing but the key value pair, which is nothing but the key value pairs. So this is what you just need to remember with regard to this. Now let's create one hash map class and see how to use this. Very quickly we will discuss this. So hash map demo, just creating a hash map demo, and let's remove this stub, and then so even this is how you can create this. We have seen very beginning itself that superclass reference variable can be used to create to refer subclass object. I'm just reusing the same key value types so that I can just copy the code from previous implementations. So let's import this hash map. Here also you have to import map interface also. Rather than that, if I just write here hash map itself, then it will be simple. So map interface reference variable can be used to refer hash map object. I think you can understand that because superclass reference variable can be used to refer to subclass object. In the same context, you can even use map also. But okay, otherwise let me use map. That doesn't make difference. Only one import statement. So from the quick fix, I have just taken that, and now Okay, I'll just use this in order to insert. So here my reference variable is not ht, my reference variable is m. Replace it. So I have just created a hash map with integer and string as key and value. By default, whatever the first type you are going to specify, that will be the type of the key, and the second type that you will be specifying within the angular brackets, that's going to be the type of the value. So here my key type is integer and value type is string. So I am just inserting 3 records with the keys 1, 2, 3 and values Krishna, Lava and Kumar. And now we are going to see how we are going to retrieve the values. Now what I will be doing is, since in the hash table I have already shown one way of retrieving, I will show another way of retrieving the values. So I will be using for each loop now, because already we have seen how to iterate with the iterator. So that you have seen with the hash table already. So first what we have done is, we have got the entry set reference, and that reference we have just used it to get the iterator instance, and using the iterator instance we have got the map entry, and that map entry will be returning the entries, and each entry will be containing the key value, and that we are retrieving with the map entry interface methods. So map entry methods, we have get key and get value, which we got it. Now what I'll be doing is, I'll directly use the for each loop, because that style we have already seen. So in the for each loop, directly what I'll be doing is, I'll be using the map entry here itself. Here you can see map entry. So I'm directly using this map entry. No need of the generic, let's use directly, and a reference variable for this. And then we have also seen how to use the for each loop, the reference colon on what you want to have this. So this I want on the, yeah, here you can see entry set. Here this entry set will be returning integer and string. Here you can see it is from the map interface. So I'm using this entry set, it's from the map interface. From the map interface entry set I have just taken, and then here what we'll be doing is, we'll just display this. And again the same things we will be using m dot, sorry, m1. Here my variable is m1 dot, here again the same get key, and concatenated some separator to just separate this key and value, and then again concatenate and get that value. So this is another way of retrieving values from the map, because since I have already shown the iterator usage, I just thought of showing you the for each usage. So this is the for each usage. So here for map entry reference, which it has to continue over the map entry set, and then I'm just getting the key and value. Now let's just display this. So here you can see how you are getting it. You are getting it in the, now what we do is, we'll just try to use the same key and try to insert it and see whether it will be performed or not. Now here instead of Lava, I'll just change it to Java. Okay, now I have used the same key. Now let's see what will happen. So you can see what is being happened. So it won't return any error, but whatever the value that is being overridden, it will be overridden by the older value being lost. That's the only thing. But one thing which I already stated, one key one value concept. One key one value. So unique keys, but duplicate values can be there. I mean here for 3 also, let us give this Java and see what happens. So you can see things are working fine. So unique keys only, but values can be duplicated. Values can be duplicated. So this is the point you just need to remember. And a tree map also you can just try that. So tree map by default it will return in sorted order, that is as per the keys it will return in sorted order. And tree map you will be generally using for faster retrieval. And another thing is you cannot have null values with tree map. That means for keys cannot have null values, but for values you can have null values, no restriction, because values is normal things which you can have null or duplicate anything, but keys they have to be unique, and no null values are allowed for keys. So this is the points you just need to remember with regard to maps. And hash table also we have already seen. So that's what with regard to this so here we have covered tree set, comparable interface I have shown you, hash set also I have shown you, and map interface, yes, we have seen. Hash map we have seen. Hash table I have shown you. Tree map I have shown you. Okay, properties I'll just show you very quickly. So the name itself makes you understand properties is used to retrieve the properties. So let's see with a small piece of code how to use the properties class. So I'll just show how to use the properties class. It's very simple. The name itself makes you understand. In order to get the properties very quickly, so I'm just creating an object for the properties, and obviously it will give me quick fix import properties. So let's import that, and then here what we do is search for a method list. Here you should be having, yeah, here you can see p dot list, and here you can see, here we will be using list of system dot out we have to use. Okay, and, okay, so what I have done is I have just created a object for the properties class, and I have used the method list method. So this list method basically will be returning to the out, which is the console. And what is the console? I'm just telling it's my system. And now if I just run this, it's going to return the properties. So it did not listed any properties. So it's just said listing properties, and even okay. Let's try to print a specific property and see. We will be having a method get property. Yeah, here you can see get property. So let's use this, and in this That's the key username. Let's see. So no username is set. So basically this properties class is used to get the properties of the system that you can just okay, otherwise let's use it with the system properties. I hope it will be there. System dot, let me try, dot. Okay, system dot get properties. So let's see how it behaves now. Yeah, now you can see how it have returned. So here you can see all the system properties it have returned. So this is how you have to use, not directly creating object for the properties itself. So you have to get the system properties like this. System dot get properties. We already know that system is a static class which is of lang package, and this get properties is a method of system class, and it will be returning the properties, so that we are catching it to the properties object, and that I'm just listing it, that we are just listing it by using system dot out. And here you can see what it have done. So let me otherwise pull this. So here you can see, so it have returned all the properties for me. So this is how you can just see. So all the system properties it have just returned, and username you can see now it have returned me user. Username itself is user. So this is how you can use the properties class. Yeah, that's it with regard to this particular map. And list we have seen, this list we have seen, array list we have seen, vector we have seen, linked list we have seen. So array list we use it for uh, storing collections, and it contains non-synchronized methods, and it's not the legacy class. Vector it's with legacy implementation that's there since 1.0 version, whereas array list we got it only from version 1.2. And linked list we have seen, it's just like linked fashion. And with vector you can use enumerations. So the quiz question directly I think you can answer, which of the following class is synchronized? Vector. Which of the following classes position based operations can be performed? Position based operations you can perform with obviously you can perform it with all index based operations, so you can perform it with all. So that's it with array list. And coming to set, let's see if we have any quiz questions very quickly. Set allows at most one null element, true or false? Yeah, the answer is true, because begin of my class itself I have said you at most one null value can be permitted. Which implementation of set should we use if we want the iterator to retrieve the objects in the order we have inserted? So this also I said you, in order to have the order preserved we will go for linked hash set, because tree set will be ascending order. Tree set will return you in ascending order. Hash set no order. Linked hash set for maintaining insertion order. So the answer is linked hash set. If we need to store user defined objects in a tree set, which interface should the corresponding class implement? Which interface? That also I have shown you. That is a comparable interface. The answer is comparable interface for this. So I don't know how far you will be getting these quiz questions directly in the assessment exam. I'm coming to map. So we have seen all these things. Let's see if we have any quiz questions quickly. So tree set map, new tree set, map dot add of 1 2 3 1 4 iterator, iterator dot has next, iterator dot next. So acha, so it's only to confuse you. So it's one of the best example for you to understand how the assessments will be. So here you can see the class that is used is tree set, but the object name is map. So don't get confused. So tree set is the class name actually. Map is just the variable name. So it's not actually the map. And we know that in tree set no duplicates are allowed. In tree set no duplicates are allowed. I have shown you. And will it return error? No. It will not return error. Only one item will be kept. That's it. When two of them are being inserted with the same name, one of it will be only kept. So when it returns also, it will return only one. And another thing what we have discussed is tree set is what? It returns in ascending order. It returns in ascending order. So here actually 1 2 3 1 4 are inserted. That means one is duplicate, so only one time it will be added to the set. So 1 2 3 4 are added, and tree set nature is to return in ascending order. So what will be the output? Don't get confused. When you are asked to display the find the output, don't directly go for 1 2 3 4. Option C is wrong, because here 1 2 3 4, it's not numbers, they are in strings. So you need to think in alphabetical order. So the output will be option D, that is 4 1 3 2, dictionary order. As per dictionary order, the output will be there. So understand it while answering. So for this question 1, answer is option D, because when duplicates are added to tree set, only one time the addition will be performed, and tree set will return not in insertion order, it will return in ascending order. So here we are using strings, so the ascending order will be returned in dictionary order. So the output will be 4 1 2 3 2. So I need not explain much on that, because this is how you will be asked in assessments. You will be given code snippets and you will be asked to predict the outputs also. Public static void before set tree set dot add of 2, set dot add of 3. Yeah, here answer is given there, but actually it's not correct answer. Option D will be the answer. You can just try that, because collections, they will not be throwing you any here in this case, in this case it will not throw you any compile time error. But when you run this, you will be getting an exception, because here you are using non-generic version. Here you are using non-generic version, so everything that you add will be kept added, so you don't get any compile time error. But when you are trying to print it, what happens is this it dot next is there now. So first item, when it prints string, by default it expects the next items has to be string type. Since there is integer, it will tell integer cannot be casted to string. It will return you the error stating that integer cannot be casted to string, and that too at runtime it will throw you, not at compile time. So it will compile fine. That's it with regard to this. Okay, very quickly we will discuss this multi-threading introduction. I hope all of you might have studied with your academics. What do you mean by the difference between multitasking and multi-threading? Very quick introduction I'll give you, and later we'll just discuss with regard to your assessment exam. So basically, you might have heard the terms multitasking and multi-threading. And here you need to understand two things. That is, what is process-based multitasking and what is thread-based multitasking. So these are the two differences you just need to understand. What is meant by process-based multitasking and what is meant by thread-based multitasking. So basically, process-based multitasking means multiple programs executing concurrently. Process-based multitasking means multiple programs executing concurrently. Whereas thread-based multitasking means single program executing concurrently. Understand the difference? Process-based multitasking means multiple programs executing concurrently, whereas thread-based multitasking means single program executing concurrently. This difference you need to understand. Why do we go for this thread-based multitasking? The major agenda to go for this thread-based multitasking is because we are using single processor systems, and on single processor systems you will be running multiple applications at same time, and if any application will go for some IO operation or is waiting for some event, then the entire application will be halted. Meanwhile, some other application will be scheduled that is ready, available for execution, but the throughput will be less, and even the CPU utilization will be low. In order to have the effective CPU utilization and improved throughputs, we go for this multi-threading concepts. This is the point need to be understood. In order to improve the CPU utilization as well as the throughput, we'll be going for this multi-threading. And first of all, what is a thread? So basically a thread is a part of process. A thread is part of process. And the points you need to remember is, when we say it is a part of process, you can create n number of threads for a process. You can create n number of threads for a process, and whatever the process is meant for, that process entire task can be subdivided into some subtasks, where each and every subtask can be assigned to one thread. Now, coming to process based multitasking, every process will be having its own address space, its own stack segments, its own data segments, all that. But whereas here, since threads belong to one single process, I mean related threads, a single process, if it is having four threads, then all these four threads belong to the same process, which share the address space of the process to which they belong to, and they share the data of the process. And another advantages you will be having is, whatever the context switching, that means switching from one process to other, it will be more expensive than compared to switching from one thread to other, because switching from one process to other process, it's more time consuming, as the state of one process has to be saved and the other process state need to be fetched and then need to begin. This requires quite some time for switching from one process to other process, because it need to save the state and then it need to fetch the state of the new process and then it has to begin the execution. So it takes some time for this switching to happen. Whereas coming to context switching among threads, it will be very easier because both of the threads belong to the same process. So switching from one thread to other thread, you don't need to you need to save the state of the thread, but still you don't need to switch from entire region, because it's within the region, it is within the region. So that's why context switching among threads will be less expensive. And another thing is, Communication. Communication is another factor which you need to understand. So communication among processes will be expensive than compared to communication among threads. So this is what introduction to multi-threading. Here you can see the differences which are given. Compared to multi-threading, multitasking is characterized by following. Each process requires its own separate address space. Context switching from one process to another is CPU intensive and more time taking. IPC between, that is inter-process communication between processes, is again expensive, as they have to span separate address spaces. Coming to threads, you can see they share the same address space and they are part of the same process. So switching will be less time taking. And coming to the thread communication also, it's less expensive because it's within the same address space. And that's the reason threads are called as lightweight processes. And these are the uses of multi-threading applications. So you can have two or more activities concurrently, that is part of the same program. Understand that point. That's part of the same program. And how do you achieve this? By dividing each activity as a separate thread. That's how you will be achieving this multi-threading. So in tomorrow's session we will see how to create threads. So basically thread creation can be done in two ways. One is extending thread class, the other one is implementing runnable interface. With the two programs, I'll just demonstrate you how to create multi-threading application. One is extending thread class, the other one implementing runnable interface. And also I'll show you how to assign priorities to threads. And one more piece of code, I'll show you how to achieve thread synchronization, because here one single program divided into multiple threads, and all these threads share the address space of the process to which they belong to, and they share the data of the process. So when these threads execute concurrently, we need to synchronize the data such that when one thread is trying to modify, the other thread should not perform modification or reading of data at the same time. That's what synchronization is meant about. We need to achieve data consistency. In order to achieve this data consistency, so multiple threads that try to access the shared data item at same time, it leads to data inconsistency. So for that reason we need to provide synchronization. So that thread synchronization also I'll show you tomorrow. And coming to the assessment exam, very quickly I'll just discuss and I'll end the session. I think you have gone through the message shared by our TPO. So your exam will be scheduled either on Wednesday or Thursday. And as I already stated before, your exam, you are not going to write from this PBL lab. By today evening, as ma'am said, ma'am will be posting you the correct date when you are going to write the exam. And you will be getting a mail containing two links, and time also will be specified. You must be available by that time, and it's a time bound exam. Suppose you are getting the links and it will be said that links will be active up to so and so time only, and no camera is required for this assessment milestone 1. And the first link, you have to go for the MCQ based exam, and the syllabus is up to IO streams. And coming to the second link, it will be comprising of logic building exercise, and few of them were asking me questions personally. Is it logic building our plan M1 sufficient, or do we also need to solve M2A? I already stated these are for practice purpose, and you don't get any problem directly from these. But if you solve these logic building our plan M1 and M2A, you will be capable of solving any other problem that you get. And that's the reason I was telling you to solve all the M1 and M2A problems. And if any of the problems you are unable to solve, do let me know, I said. And till now nobody asked that you are facing any problem with that. And if any of you have any other issues, you can just post it to me personally or in the group itself, so that I'll answer you. Direct problems you don't get directly from M1 or M2A, just remember that. But practicing these things will help you in solving whatever the problem you will be getting for the assessment milestone. That's the only thing. And you need to be familiar with all these topics up to IO streams, very minute details also. And I think already ma'am said in the message itself, if you don't get to the required marks directly, you will be set by from this training, and automatically your account will be suspended. You can't use these credentials if you don't get qualified. But not to scare you, don't worry about all those things. Just give your best, prepare complete theory up to IO streams, and practice the logic building exercises. And no sessional cutoff. You just need to get good marks from both the sessions. So no sessional cutoff. I mean, compulsory you need to get this much marks from MCQ exam. Compulsory you need to get this much marks from logic building exam. Nothing like that. Altogether you need to get required mark. The mark is not disclosed right now. They will be telling only after all of the people take this exam, it seems. So right now they haven't disclosed the exact mark. But if you don't get the mark to an expected level, you will be kicked off from this training session. Just remember that. And MCQs, I don't know how many of you can fulfill to the best, but at least I expect you people to be securing full marks with the logic building problem, because that's the one which increases your percentage. Because logic building, it's at least in your hand, because you can get to see whether all the test cases are being passed or not. Whereas with MCQs, until you submit the test, you don't know how much marks you are going to get. But logic building is not like that. Since you can get to see whether all the test cases are being passed or not, if you can see that you are passing through all the test cases, you can assure yourself that you have got 100 marks with the logic building problems. You will be getting known your mark to yourself by submitting the test itself. As soon as you submit the first MCQ test, you will get the score report there itself. You can just download that PDF and just analyze it, which areas you need to focus on. And logic building, as I said, if you pass through all the test cases, obviously you will get full marks, and you can just take the average of both. That will be your final mark. You can just take the average of both. That will be your final mark. So by today evening, anyway, you will receive message from ma'am saying that whether it will be on Wednesday or Thursday, and whatever the day you will be having exam, I am not going to take session on that day as well as the before day. I mean, if at all you get message that tomorrow, I mean Wednesday is your exam, tomorrow I am not going to take class, I'll leave for preparation purpose. And if exam is on Thursday, tomorrow I'll be taking session. Only Wednesday I will leave for your preparation. I hope that's fine. And if any other queries you have, you can just ask me personally or in the group itself. Most of them are hesitating to ask in the group. I don't know why, but don't hesitate. Whatever the queries you are asking, the same queries others are also were posting me individually, and it's being difficult even for me to answer every person individually. Better to post it in the group itself, so that others who are feeling shy to ask, at least they'll get to know the answers also. So that's what from my end for today's session. So only one advice: please prepare well for the exam. Don't take it light. And logic building is the one which I stress you to focus on to get full marks at least by passing through all the test cases. So that's it from my end. You can start posting your attendance. So I hope all of you have given your attendance. And once again, I'm telling you, if there is any problem from logic building which you feel you are not able to pass all the test cases, don't hesitate. You can ask me. I'll just share my solution, and from that you can just understand it and try to modify it if required. But make sure that you are able to get through all the test cases of the logic building problems. That's the only advice I can give from my side. And coming to tomorrow's class, it will be based on today's evening message. As I already said, based on today evening, whatever the message we will be getting. If exam is on Wednesday, no class for tomorrow and day after tomorrow. If exam is on Thursday, tomorrow I will be taking class, and Wednesday, Thursday you will not be having class. Okay then. Thank you. Bye.